I was in one of my favorite video game stores the other day looking for a new game to play. I was tired of all the first-person shooters I've been playing and wanted to try something different. I was looking around the glass cases when I spotted a PlayStation 1 game with an all-white cover and the words Shiki Shi in red letters. The game was priced at $150, way over what I wanted to spend, but I had never heard the title and I was curious. I asked the manager if he knew what the game was about and why it was so expensive, and he told me that it was a JRPG horror game made by a company that no longer exists called Konami Software Entertainment. He told me that he didn't know what the story was about, but he knows that there was only 100 copies ported over to the American consoles before a mass recall caused the game to become an incredibly rare find. I thought the story was kind of strange. It told me almost nothing about the game itself, but I was interested in adding such a rare gem to my collection. Once I got home, I dug my old PS1 out of the closet and hooked it up to my TV. I opened the case and a red ribbon fell out. I wasn't 100% sure of it, but I remember when games used to include an item that was a reference to the game to help drive up sales. I popped the game into the system and turned it on. That nostalgic sounds of the PlayStation starting up got me excited for the game. The title screen was just like the cover of the case, a white screen with the words Shiki Shi in kanji red. The eerie sounds of the wind and the slow music with the occasional chimes sent goosebumps up my spine. I pressed start and the screen faded to black. The first thing that the game asked for was name and my date of birth. It was a JRPG, so I put the name Hiro and made a character that was 17 years old. Then the game asked if I was a boy or a girl. I chose boy. The game started in a Japanese classroom and multiple NPCs around. I began talking to some of them, but none of them had anything interesting to say. I eventually ran into a girl with red hair. Kotori was her name, and she asked me if I had joined the club yet. I selected no. Then she asked if I wanted to join the Midnight Club. I wanted to explore my options, so I told her no and the screen faded to black. My character ended up in his bedroom and wandered around for a bit. When I walked up to the door, there was a note on the floor that read, "Don't go outside, Wataru." I decided to send the character to bed. Next screen showed my character Hiro back in his classroom. I wandered around for a bit, and I found Kotori again. She asked me again if I wanted to join the Midnight Club. I decided to agree this time, and she told me to return to the school at midnight. The screen faded to black and Hiro was in his room again. It was midnight and I walked to the door to leave, and the note that was on the floor once before was now gone. The next screen showed Hiro in a dark candlelit room with 6 other characters, one of them being Kotori. Kotori introduced Hiro as the newbie of the group, and each character introduced themselves. There were the siblings Misa and Momaru, Hanako, Yamada, and Yukiko. After the introductions, Kotori asked if any of us had ever played the game Shiki Shi. Momaru asked what it was, and Kotori explained. She said that it was a game that could only be played between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. The game starts by all of us tying a red ribbon around our wrists, and then we have to hold hands and say a chant. After the chant is said, the game starts. The ribbons will disappear from our wrists and will be hidden throughout the school. The one who collects the most ribbons by 4 a.m. wins. The gameplay mechanics sounded simple enough. It was pretty much a treasure hunt game. Kotori continued explaining that there was a catch though. During our search for the ribbons, we have to avoid the Shiki Shi, the spirit that we will be summoning. Finally, the horror aspect of the game. They began the ritual, and the game began. My character began looking for red ribbons throughout the school. The dark atmosphere and ominous music definitely set the mood. I was so excited. I was legitimately creeped out. I continued to play the game for a few hours and hadn't run into any ghosts or ribbons. I ended up going into a classroom and the cutscene came up. It was incredibly realistic CGI, something that definitely didn't exist during the game's release. It showed the first-person view of my character looking at a strange woman with long black hair and a white kimono. On her face was a Japanese-style mask. It was heard behind the mask, and it didn't say anything, just the sound. Ki, ki, ki. She turned to my character and made an ear-piercing screech as the screen faded to black. I waited a few moments, looking at the screen, thinking that the PlayStation's infamous load time had taken over. Nope, the game froze. I was pissed. I reset the system and decided to give it another go. The game had no save points, so I had to start all over again. I finally got back to the CGI cutscene after an hour and a half later. The game froze again. I was furious. $150 for a busted game. I decided to try and fix the problem myself and take to some gaming forums to find out what was going on. I looked back at the clock and saw that it was 10 p.m. I had work tomorrow, so I decided to go to bed. After I got home from work, I decided to check the forum. Only one response from user SakiLover88. PM me. I messaged SakiLover88. Hey man, are you seriously playing that game? They asked. Yeah, it keeps on crashing on me, I typed back. Are you playing on the PS1 or the PS2? They asked. I told them I was playing on the original PlayStation. I thought they were going to tell me that I was screwed out of $150. What they told me next was insane. You know that game is supposedly cursed, right? I thought that they were trolling me at first, but they continued. I write articles for a gaming site, and I did an article on this game one time. They sent me a link to the original article. The article told the story of a gaming company that went out of business due to the game being reportedly cursed. The game is based on a real ritualistic game of the same name that was played many years ago in Japan. Apparently, the production team decided to have some fun and play the real game of Shiki Shi. The game was recalled after release due to it constantly freezing after the first cutscene. The company went bankrupt due to them pouring all their funds into the graphics. The strange thing is that all the members who played the Shiki Shi that night died mysteriously in freak accidents. So it's all true? I asked Saki Lover. Supposedly it is, but the game and the story had fallen into obscurity, so they become nothing more than an urban legend, they said. So no one has ever made it past the first cutscene, I asked? One did, they said. They sent a link to the YouTube video that sent me to a page of a user named GamerReady. The video showed them putting Shiki Shi into a PlayStation 2, explaining that in order to get past the infamous cutscene from the crashes in the game, you have to set the system clock to 12 a.m. before you start the game. I got another message from Saki Lover. I spoke to GamerReady before about the game and its legend. They said, and? I questioned. He said to not, under any circumstance, play the game. I said my goodbyes to Saki Lover and signed off. Despite all the warnings that were said to me, I figured that this was just some sort of internet hoax used to gain some sort of a cult following or rise it in popularity. I decided to pull out my PS2 and hook it up though. I did as GamerReady did, and I set the system clock to midnight. I popped the game in, and the title screen was different now. The screen was black and wavy. The title glowed red and blurred. The title music was much more distorted and freaky. The game started normally, and I played through the cutscene, and the game began to play past the cutscene, but I was immediately thrown into a chase. My character was running from the Shiki Shi, and I ran out of the classroom and into the hall, but she continued after me. I ran into another classroom and ducked into a locker. I was able to escape her, but my heart was pounding out of my chest. When I exited the locker, there was a red ribbon nearby. I grabbed it, and the game gave me the option to save. I was very tired and I had to go to work the next day, so I shut off the game and went to bed. I was at work at my desk finishing up some entries when suddenly the power went out. It's happened a few times before, but it's rare. It was very dark out, and I didn't realize that I had stayed up so late. I looked at the clock and noticed that it was midnight. How was that possible? I got up from my desk and I noticed that I was the only one there. Suddenly I heard it, that sound. Kee, 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 kee. I felt my face turn pale as I looked for her. Suddenly I felt a sharp pain in my chest as I looked down and there was a hand sticking out of me covered in blood. Then I heard it behind me. Kee, 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 kee. I woke up in a cold sweat feeling sick. But a nightmare? But that pain, I felt sick and I went to the bathroom. I felt this choking feeling in my throat. I expected to throw up. I reached in my mouth and I felt something in the back of my throat. I pulled it out. It was the red ribbon. I heard that noise behind me again. Kee, 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 kee. I woke up again in my pillow covered in sweat. I felt feverish, and I looked at the clock to see what time it was. 4:01 a.m. I decided to call out of work and try to continue the game. I got to the title screen and I went to load my save, but there was no saves. I know I saved the game last night, but I was too sick to deal with the game's bullshit. I decided to contact Saki Lover 88 again. Hey there, how was the game? They asked. Not great, I said. I know I saved my game last night, but when I went to continue, there was no save there. Plus, to top it all off, I'm at home and I have a fever today. I explained. Wait, you're sick? They asked. Yep, I responded. A few minutes passed by and I didn't hear back from them. Any chance did you have any nightmares last night? I almost fell out of my chair when I read that. How could they know? Yeah, how did you know? I questioned. Well, our conversation last night got me thinking about the game and its legend again. So I got in contact with Narrated. I invited him to our chat room. Hey man, Narrated said as he jumped on. Hey, I responded. Dude, you need to stop playing that game and get rid of it, Narrated said. Why? It's just a game, I said. No, it isn't, man. It's a curse. He said. Saki Lover told me that you're sick and having nightmares. That's how it starts, he said. Did the game come with a red ribbon? He asked. Well, yeah, I figured it was some sort of game swag. I said as I looked at the entertainment center where I left it, but it was gone. Did I move it or forget about it? Is it missing? It's missing, isn't it? Narrated asked. I was officially freaked out. What the hell is going on? Yeah, I said. Crap, she's already playing with you, he said. I wasn't sure what the hell was going on. All I knew is that I was sick and this guy was starting to freak me out. Listen, there's only two ways out of this. You either need to beat the game or find that ribbon and put it into the case and get rid of that game, Narrated explained. I already found one in the game, and I save afterwards, I said. Did you turn off your system afterwards, he asked. Yes, I said reluctantly. Then that ribbon is gone, and it explains why your actual ribbon is missing, he said. You have to set the system clock to midnight and play the new game and don't stop until you beat it, and whatever you do, do not let her get you in that game. I wasn't sure what was going on, but Narrated knew things already that he couldn't have known. I began to set the clock and get the game ready. I started a new game and began to play again. This time, when I found the first ribbon, I ignored the save game option. I kept playing and finding ribbon after ribbon. The game got harder, and as I progressed, the game got darker and harder to see, and Shiki Shi's AI became smarter and faster. I continued to play through even though I was feeling lightheaded and nauseous. Suddenly I heard my door creak open, and I looked back for a second, but there was nothing. I assumed it was just my cat, and then I heard the chilling voice with my actual ears. I felt the air in the room become heavy as I began to shiver from the cold. I ignored it and I continued. I was so close to finding the last ribbon. I saw it and I ran for it, and then that's when I felt this cold grasp on my shoulder. I grabbed the ribbon on the screen and it went white. I looked at my shoulder and I felt the hand grab me and there was a red ribbon draped on my shoulder. I let out a sigh of relief as the screen showed my character alone in her room with the credits rolling by. I was about ready to skip past them when I noticed the names of the production team: Kotori Mamiya, Misa Shigeru, Mamoru Shigeru, Hanako Kanawa, Yamada Yoshida, and Yukiko Kojima. The credits finished and the game asked me if I wanted to play again. I happily said no. The next day, I sold the game back to the game store for half the price that I paid for it and went home and contacted Sake Lover and Gamer Ready to tell them the good news. Only, they didn't answer. I went to Sake Lover's profile on their article website, only to find out that the real name was Janine and she had died in a car accident 4 years ago, 6 months after she wrote the article about the game. I quickly went to Gamer Ready's YouTube profile and saw a post from 4 years ago from his mother, stating that he had died from pneumonia.